And this is Tammy.
Tammy Cho. Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone. Pathway to the Heart is what your business is, right?
It's Pat to the Heart. And yeah, I'm a body whisperer and a self love embodiment guide. I'm definitely, one of my strong messages is all about self love and embodiment and coming back to self. And I know um, between doing the summit together and having spoken to you leading up to the event, it's like, yeah, we have a lot of alignment in this topic, and so this is, why we're here, chatting it up about self love, self care.
So I wanted to, I just so our viewers, whoever's popping on and catching this right in the beginning, I want to just point out that Tammy and I are both speakers at a summit that is happening next week. It's the Self-Care, Self-Love, Self-Confidence Health Summit. And you can sign up. I put the link in the chat. We're trying to put it under all our videos. We both are kind of stumbling around with what we're doing on this live. So we're trying to put it out there. You can find it on our websites. You can find it on all our social medias. Sign up, even if you can't be there Wednesday live, where we're having a panel where there's lots of conversations going on. This is not going to be a bunch of that day is actually really. I'm really excited to see how it unfolds, Tammy, because the way she's organized it, it is. A whole bunch of experts talking about self-care and self-love and self-confidence and a lot of valuable, rich information from a very wide spectrum of people. So check it out. And that's how Tammy and I met, was through preparing and being a part of this new summit that we're doing. And this summit, actually, we're part of a group that will be doing this throughout 4 times a year, I think she's aiming for. Is that what you remember?
Yeah, 3 or 4 times throughout the year, but don't quote me on that. But it's going to be an
Yeah.
evergreen where you could actually come in and build some community, because a big
Yeah.
part with all of this, like, self love, self care, it's not a one time thing. It's really something that we learn to give to ourselves, receive for ourselves, and to be in a community of people that are, really into the same thing, and they're, wanting to go deeper into it, right?
Oh,
Um,
yeah. Everybody's got so many amazing gifts that they're giving out as well. So there's the panel where you get to chat in with us. Sorry about my phone. Anyhow, panel that you get to chat with everybody on Wednesday. That's recorded. You can watch it later as well on the record. But then there's free. Each speaker has talks that they're doing, and then there's all these free gifts that are coming out. And then if you VIP, I know my VIP is a pretty big program that I'm offering. And I know yours is really a high value on the VIP end too, as well. So go check it out. You want to add anything to that?
Oh, well, I mean, I think it's beautifully said. Like, everything is in the link. But more importantly, we wanted to bring this out into the open, because oftentimes, like, we hear about self love and, self care is kind of like a fluffy topic. It's not, it comes
Buzzwords.
across, yeah, like, what it says in the title. It's not just buzzwords, it infuses so many, like, every area of our life. And it's so funny, Jennifer, as you're as we're talking, coming on here, figuring out the technology, right? Like, yeah, like, our heart may want to spread this message, but if we don't step into our courage of trying something new, and even going into this self love summit, where it's the first time launching something like this, and doing a summit where it's not just one time, because it's really about building this community and this the presence with each other, and to be able to share knowledge and have you pick it up, because different things that happen, we pick up what we need in every moment, and I think that's the beauty of all of this. And just right here, setting up for this call, it's kind of like, we had to really choose to love ourselves and have that confidence and make it important. um, One thing I've learned, Jennifer, is, like, a lot of times, like, we know something, we should do something, and it really is about stepping into making ourselves important, or making the thing important. Unfortunately, a lot of us often make other people around us more important than ourselves, and it feels good in the moment, and over time, that just, it doesn't work, it just weighs on us.
Well, here's an interesting, I personally find in my work that there's a lot of messages we've all received that we're supposed to be giving so much outward, and we're supposed to be taking care of others and putting so much out into the world and being of service, which absolutely we need to be doing that. but there's this perception that it's another task that we have to do. And when you learn how to take care of yourself and to recharge from the inside, and for me, I teach about the heart and the connecting the soul and the heart and the experience. I know you have another way of doing it with the body and the more of a body whisperer, your nickname there. But when you learn how to get into that and you heal yourself and you truly love yourself, it radiates out from you. And it's no longer this task that's added you your to-do list to make yourself a good person. It actually just becomes who you are. And it goes so much deeper, and people feel it from you. So tell
Yeah.
me a little bit about your angle with it, with the body whisper part.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's just different angles of coming to the same thing. I really highly, agree because, and one thing you said that sort of jumped out to me, it's like, to do all these things so we could be a better person. It's like it's owning that we're already good enough and we're already this good person. We don't need to do anything else to make us feel worthy and or anything like that. But it's like also allowing us that, many of us we want to help, we care, we just want to give. And I hear this questions from my clients often. It's like, how do I know how much to give versus receive? And a lot of that has to do with this being attuned with your body, what symptoms are coming from your body, how you're obviously feeling emotionally within yourself. And it's being able to fill yourself up so much that what you give is pouring out of you.
Yes.
Yeah, and knowing self well enough to create the boundaries,
Yes.
that yeah, what is okay for me versus what is not, because I think that self care has this this image of we have to do things a certain way, and this is what society says, and it's really about breaking those structures down. Wouldn't you say, Jennifer?
Yeah, totally. And the other thing I find that actually, when you were talking, really came through to me was we're talking about the buzzword and the fact that it's such a big issue in our society right now with our mental health, because mental health is a major issue, right? That's why we're doing this. That's why that was the theme for this summit. Um, and it's not just a buzzword. Part of the reason why it seems like that is because there's so many different pathways to getting into your heart, different pathways of learning how to have self-love, to the point that it overflows and spreads. There's 8 billion people on this planet. There's probably 8 billion different ways of doing it. So you really have to follow which one resonates with you, and in one moment it'll be, the messages that come from Tammy, and the next minute it'll be a message that comes from me. Another minute it'll be a message that comes from one of the other speakers or one of the other people out there that are helping others, stepping into the work of helping and showing what worked for me. I know my work is based on what I've experienced, and I know your work is based on what you experience. And that's generally what happens is we go through the experiences ourselves. We get this great wisdom that comes to us on our journey, and we start sharing how we got to where we are. Not to say that we have hit the end of our road, but we're still on our own personal journey. But anybody who resonates with what we have to share, follow that, because it's what you need to hear. Wouldn't you say,
Yeah.
Tammy? Do you have the same kind of view?
Yeah, I mean, I feel that it's so important to start our day like with an intention, because what I found is that it's so when we set intention out of love for ourselves of something maybe we want to create or have, it's like whoever you meet, at a summit, at a function, or just like speaking to someone or hearing something on the street, it's gonna come in for you exactly when you need it. It's just we got to pay attention to it. And so I agree in the sense that, the right thing you need to hear is always in front of us. It's being present and having that awareness to, catch it in the moment. Because when we start to pay attention, it's all around us. Like, I like to say love is all around us. And it's like
Absolutely.
to tune our eyes or lens to see it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what's the beautiful thing about this summit is that there's so many different messages coming into one place that it's like a big shopping, like which one resonates with me right now. And then, you know what, a month from now, come back, review that panel again, because it's evergreen, it's going to be out there forever. So go back to it, and maybe somebody different is going to resonate with you at that time. So that's the beauty of the summit, is that you're bringing together so many different paths and different walks of life and experiences and opportunities. It's like shopping as to which one's going to vibrate with you, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know we're speaking about the summit, but like just expand this to our whole life. Like obviously, if you come, choose to come to the summit, it's definitely a place. Like I definitely invite you to set an intention. What is it that I want to receive? Is it confidence? Is it a deeper self love? Is it a deeper self trust? Is it to release self doubt? Like what? Like be really clear within yourself, right? And that will manifest within the summit, outside of the summit. But this is about you. This is your life, and choosing what you want to create from it. So I think that's the beauty here of all of that, like that it works so well. I mean, yeah, that would be something that I, consistently share with my clients. So I just want to put it out there.
Yeah, there is as you go through this work, there is always consistencies, right? That's how we end up honing our messages, and that's how we end up, learning how to work with our clients, is because there are certain things that repeat. And so one of the things that repeat for me is that people understanding that they need to let go of the expectations, the all the things that we have been told we should do, must do, have to do, and start listening and realizing that we are beautiful from the very beginning. We have a value. We are here to share that value with others just by being ourselves and authentic to ourselves. And when we move into that authenticity and we let go of these rules that have it just worked into our systems, and they almost place them between who we really are and our persona out in the world. And when we can get rid of that persona out in the world and start really operating from this authenticity, the self-love just blooms, because you are beautiful. We are love. That's where we originate from. We are love. And it's just a matter of remembering that about us.
Yeah, I mean, and I remember a time, Jennifer, when when I heard that, right, like your love, I am love, and I was like, what does that mean? Like I used to be in this group, and I was like, they would say, I love you, Tammy, I love you, Tammy. And I'm like, like part of me was totally resisting this, and that's where I came from a place where like I just couldn't receive it. I couldn't wrap my head around it. And it's not something for us to wrap our head around, but it was almost allowing ourselves to let it in. Like for myself, it's like learning that I was actually worthy of letting in, obviously everyone in my group, like sharing all these things about me. And honestly, Jennifer, was like, I was in a place where I was so uncomfortable with who I was. I
Oh,
didn't know who my authentic self was, and I just couldn't take it in. And so, yeah, and I speak of that just because of a range of different people that may be on this journey, right? Like from a place of pushing away to like trying to look for a way to deepen that is just such a huge range. Um, so yeah, I'm not I'm sure, Jennifer, if you're doing this type of work, I'm sure you started somewhere where you
I
didn't necessarily know who you were, and
I actually learned to suppress myself from a very young age, like most of us do. I come from a good family. There's not, and that's sort of one of the things I want to point out with people when they do their healing work. We all have our parental issues, the issues we grew up with. I mean, that does not necessarily mean that you had a bad childhood. You don't have to come from abuse to have picked up a program that ain't working for you. Okay. So, and one of the things that happened with my own journey is I was always very spiritually awake. I always channeled with different spirits. I've worked with different, different dimensional aspects and things like I've always been drawn in that way. But I grew up in a family that had had quite heavy mental illness. And so for me to be talking to spirit and having this very spiritual side of myself and operating on a different kind of wavelength, it was scary to my family. And it kind of became scary to me, because if I'm talking to what others aren't seeing, and so is grandma or who, it's like, oh, I kind of got scared about the mental health aspect of it. Am I crazy? I really asked that, am I crazy? And so I really learned to suppress it. and not talk about it. Thankfully, my mother, my great grandmother, I knew her very well when I was very little, and I do remember a lot of her words, and she's channeled with me my whole life. And my mother, she raised my mother, and there was a message that there's two messages that have always held and carried me through. And one was, my mom repeated it to me all growing up, and it doesn't matter what church you go to or what spiritual following you go to, so long as you listen to the messages from the heart. If you listen with your heart, you'll get the message. And that's what I always listen with your heart and you will get the message. And that's very true. Like if you tap into your heart and you listen from the heart, you will know truth. You will hear it, you will see it, you'll gravitate to it if you're coming and listening from the heart. And then the second thing that always came through from my grandmother, I remember before she passed away, the last time I saw her, she was in the hospital. I remember she took my hand. I was like 6 years old, and she took my hand and she said, and I thought it was so weird and it stuck in my head. She was like, "Never worry about the world ending because it's been ending as long as I can remember." And of course, I grew up in the era where we had Y2K with the 2000. We had the 2012. The world's going to end, and we've been through now pandemics. We now are on the cusp of AI coming out. Like the world is always threatening. It's always been there. They always talk about it, but we're not ending. And so those were two messages that really stuck with me. And so that's always been in my walk. But that was why I ended up closing off who I was, hiding who I was, not talking about it. And it was quite a journey to learn how to step into being authentic and putting myself out there and not hiding behind what I thought was acceptable. So that was my story of how I got into, well, it's one of the steps. Okay, I'll take a minute and then I'm going to pass it over because I want to hear your story, but I'm just going to finish with one other thing on my story. And that is, so spiritually awakening, I was all the way through, but there was a point, and it was about 15 years ago, where I was drowning in life, really, really drowning. I was a young mother. I had toddlers. I had a brand new house. My husband and I were both self-employed together, and we didn't have like a traditional jobs. We were very much, we went and got the money. What you put in is what you get out, right? So, and then we were building our house for the first time as well. And so there was a lot of challenges on my plate, and there was some health issues with my kids back then and that. So a lot of challenges. And I really felt like I was drowning under the pressures, and I had no outlet. When I was younger, you'd go and blow off steam one night by partying or drinking or smoking or whatever it is you did. Well, I had given all those up because I was being the mom, right? I was being dealing with that, and it was 24/7. Right? And I was losing my mind. I'm like, I don't know what to do to relieve this pressure that was building up inside of me, and this stress and the frustration, and I didn't want to take it out. So anyhow, the headspace you get into. And then somebody said to me, "Have you tried Reiki?" And I went, "Nope, I have no idea." And she goes, "Well, call this lady. She does Reiki." So of course I phoned her up, and I talked to her on the phone and everything. And of course I sent my husband, because that's what women do, right? Yeah, I need help, but so does he. So we'll send him first. He needs it more than me when you got a limited budget, right? So he went, and he thought, wow, it really did help him. He couldn't really think of it, helped him. So then the opportunity came, well, okay, I'm not just going to go do a session. I'm going to learn how to do it, because it was something I could go and get a tool. So I did that, and I got this tool, and it was like a lifeline had been given to me, and I held on to it. And from that moment forward, it has just unfolded on this amazing, magical journey of embracing not just my own true, authentic self and my spirituality, but also stepping into the path of being a healer for others, because that was never my intention. I come from a background of travel agency and travel industry and hospitality and photography. I was a wedding photographer and a graphic design and that kind of stuff. So and our business was programming. Like healing was not in my agenda whatsoever back then, but it just unfolded that way. And so that was my beginning, and it was what my survival tool was that started this amazing journey. So That's kind of my origination story. Where was your turning point, Tammy?
Well, I just think it's like, really beautiful for one that, grandma left these beautiful messages for you. And I think you speak about a very important part in your story is that it doesn't have to be a lot of, trauma necessarily and parental issues. It's like it could be just in a household where you needed to be, taking on more responsibility for all your siblings versus putting your own needs first, and for yourself and how you just couldn't fully be you. All these things that sort of carried on and now created an opening for you to be a healer. So I just want to say it's all beautiful and everyone's journey is different. And it really just comes back to this piece within ourselves about discovering who we are, and accepting who we are, and like, and taking action on knowing that, oh, this is what I'm meant to do. And that brings a lot of joy and love and all these things. Um, yeah, and I definitely I've come from the more trauma please help things within myself, and it doesn't have to look that way. I work with a lot of clients that it doesn't have to look that way, is what I'm saying. So um, yeah, like for me, Jennifer, I don't think I even shared this story with you before, but it's like I come from a place where I was working as a nurse one day, and I essentially started having heart palpitations. I was like, my eyes were getting fuzzy, my hearing started turning into radio stations, and I just struggled to take a breath in. And it was like the pain was radiating up my jaw, down my arm, very much like a heart attack. And I ended up being wheeled off to emergency in front of all my coworkers at work. And leading it up to that, like I knew that I was experiencing anxiety, and I was losing my ability to concentrate and focus and all of these things. But I couldn't get myself to let go. Like even though I had like that, voice, I knew, I needed to take time off. I even went to get a doctor's note and all these things to take time off. So I knew, very well knew I wasn't doing well. And I couldn't get myself to let go. And, I think some people might ask, why would I make that decision? And, it comes back to at that time, like, many years ago, like my mom left me when I was a baby to a physically, emotionally abusive father, right? And lots of things happened, and I was bullied all through high school, and I just didn't think anything of myself, and it's like in that moment of burning out and knowing I needed to put myself first, I actually learned to put that mask on of doing like people pleasing and putting everyone else before me. And I had to be this perfect image, and I had to be all confident and produce a lot and take care of all my patients and the doctors and fulfill everything. Anyways, right? And that became this mask I wore. And with this mask, right? Like in that moment, even though I knew what was good for me, I couldn't take the mask off because who would I be if I let go of all these identities? And that's a challenge that I see with a lot of people, is that they get stuck in these identities being who they are. And it took a lot of unraveling, and really it didn't unravel this in me until like I mean, that wasn't bad enough. Like I knew that I had to just take time off. But the turning point for me is when my daughter was like 6 months old, and she was lying there on one of those baby Einstein mats. And for the first time, she hit one of those toys that were hanging from the baby Einstein structures, Jennifer. And yeah, I sat there and I saw it, but I was like, oh yeah, kids do that. Like I was so disconnected. And if it wasn't for this nurse that was sitting beside me on my couch, living room couch, and she pointed, you're not connecting to your child like other moms do. That's kind of why I've been following you. Yeah. And it made me realize like, oh my goodness, I'm literally becoming my mom, where she left me, but I wasn't physically leaving my daughter. I was like emotionally leaving her. And so that really like woke me up, Jennifer, to really, yeah, I got to do something different here. And this is when I started, dive into personal development, and I dived into energy work, and, you know, and all those things helped. I was like doing exchange healings weekly with people and it felt good. But when I stopped, I didn't feel any better. Right. And it really wasn't until I came back to the body to feel and to be with my present to my emotions, and to release and allow this alignment of the body, mind, heart, soul, where that really came together to me. And I was able to heal this, depression, anxiety, and just burning out consistently, and without any medication. And so that's what really drew my heart to do what I do. And what I realized as I came into business with Pat to the Heart is that the more I practice the same similar skills and to allow myself to actually open myself to receive, because the voice was always there. It was me letting it in. It always came back. If I look back into all these steps, Jennifer, I was pushing it away. And we're always here already. Like our whole heart and being and what we're meant to do is all here. And we hear that a lot, but it's all the noise around that I had to peel away. And as you want to create more impact, it's like you got to deepen your self-love. You got to deepen your connection to yourself and like to choose your alignment over all the noise. Yeah. So anyways, you can see I'm very passionate about this and coming back to self. And yeah. And so that's how, my business birth into this world. I literally was doing my own healing work, and it downloaded like, you need to do this, Tammy. It was like very strong, messaging that I just couldn't turn away from. And so, yeah, we're all here, you know.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
So
Jennifer.
many pieces of your story resonate with my own experience and the experience with my clients, and just you hear them all the time. So many people have that abandonment buried in them. They have the sense of being bullied over the years. They have that mask. And I love what you said, who would I be without the mask? And that is probably the biggest question that hangs into people's minds. And it's really almost, how aware are you of that question in you? Um, as we enter into adulthood, we start wrestling with that in late elementary and through high school. I mean, that's what those years are all about, is who would I be without this mask? And some of us never, a lot of us actually never find that moment to figure it out. And it's often that we have these traumas hit us over and over and over that activate these pains, and we build up these walls around our heart and we hide our inner self. But we get to that moment. For you, when you talked about your daughter and that realization that you were having struggle with that connection, and at the same time it was like, I am not repeating this pattern. This is not acceptable. I am not going to go through my life not connecting to my child. And the bravery and the strength that it takes to step up and go, no, I'm breaking this pattern. That catalytic moment of, I've got to find the change, and embarks on this journey, right? Like, that's so powerful. And it speaks to what so many of us feel, that moment that is just, this is no longer acceptable. We have to change, and you pursue it. So I love your story. That is just exactly it. It's the path to the heart, right? I love the name of your business. It's just so beautiful because it speaks such clarity, right? Like, path to the heart. Get into the heart. Connect with your heart. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jennifer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I will say, like, the sad thing, I know it's about making ourselves important. But it's like sometimes, even though we're wearing the mask, we're not even aware we're wearing it. That's what I notice in a lot of my clients. It's like, I mentioned I was a body whisperer. It's like I do face readings to support. Like the left side is someone's private face, and the right is the public face on what we show people. And I like to help people see, where they've been operating from. And some clients, they're aware they've been hiding. And for some clients, it's like, yeah, it's like more melting is needed, realizing like that's who I am, not this. And yeah, and it's just uh, such a beautiful awakening I get to support people through.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think this is why we are routing for self-love. It's like where we put our intention and bring our attention to, we're more likely to unravel more of these pieces that are not really us. And so we can come back to our full authenticity, even though someone says, that's not right or that's not good, that we stand in our power to love ourselves enough to like, yeah, this is me. And I don't care what you say.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I
You
love
know?
that. It's so beautiful. And Tammy, you just dropped a little bomb that I want to pick up on right
Sure.
now, because you mentioned that you do these face readings. And I know that that's part of what you're doing through the summit, or you do this. Tell me about your offer that you're doing through the summit, because it's very intriguing.
Sure. Yeah. Like for people that are, wanting to use the body as a gateway, a portal back to loving themselves. Um, the gift I was putting out there was a mini training about discovering what your face, says about you, as to a place for you to sort of step into realizing that everything on our face and body speaks to our internal environment, our connection to our mental, emotional environment, our soul. And this gift allows you to see, what your face means. What is this analysis thing about? And to see what changes could happen in someone's face by stepping into the deeper work. And so yeah, it's a free offering I'm putting on the summit. Discover what your face shape says about you. And yeah, I'll provide a link later, sort of in the comments, if you want to tap into that.
Yeah.
And I know, Jennifer, you are also sharing a special gift for the audience as well.
Yes, actually I am. And I'll talk about that in a minute, but I wanted to just talk about your facial thing, because I wanted to add one thing. Like, people, this is so fascinating to me, that what does your face say about you? If you take twins, I don't know if you've ever known twins in your life, but most of us somewhere along the line have run across twins. It can be amazing how different twins can look. Even though they can be raised in the same house, identical when they're little, and as they go through life and their experiences, they begin to look very different. And if you know a set of twins that appear identical on the, to the general world, as you know them, as the more you get to know them, they are so different. And you can see those differences in the face. So I find it absolutely fascinating, that you do that kind of work. It really is amazing how it affects our face. So cool. Check it out, people.
Yeah, thank you. It is pretty cool.
It is. It's really neat. So I'm offering, actually, at the summit, I am giving away a little program that I've done that is healing the empathic overwhelm. So our emotions are actually, it's the energy in motion, and it's the language of our heart. It's the language of our soul. And it is literally a chemistry of our brain that is released into our body that is working with the emotions. And so healing that, the overwhelm that comes from the emotional impact that it's how we process the information around us. And basically, I'm going to go in deeper about that in my talk, because I have a presentation. Just like you, we have presentations. So you have the panel that you come and talk to us and ask questions. That's where people can ask us questions. And then there's also little shorter videos that kind of an explanation thing. And then there's the free gifts. So in the explanation, I'll go into more of that. And then the free gift will be is that program. But it's really the key point, that marriages are physical genetic history, our soul consciousness, and the environment that we're born into, right? And the environment we're born into shapes so much of that marriage that comes together. And we're shaped by the family that we're in, by the culture we're in, the society, the neighborhoods, the country. I mean, none of that all came together to create who you are today. And it's all processed through our emotions, which is processed through the heart. There's more than double the amount of information going from your heart to your brain than there is from your brain to any other part of the body. And it's the language is through the emotions. So that's what I'm going to be talking about. And the sign on that is it's our empathic abilities. So, and I'm going to talk about, actually, the talk as well. I will mention how the current times that we're in, we are going through an evolution where we're being asked to process a lot more information, which is causing our nervous system to expand so that we can process more energy in motion, which is the empathy overload that a lot of us are experiencing, which causes the stress, the panic attacks, the anxiety, the overwhelm, the burnouts. All that is by that overwhelm. So I'm going to go more in depth on that and give some tools as how to start your journey on getting healed and stepping into authenticity.
Yeah, beautiful. It's so important, right? Sometimes we care so much and we have so much empathy that, it's just too much. And I think it's really important to be able to navigate the emotions and to live life where it's not running the show for you, and you're making decisions from your heart, from not a place of overwhelm and burnout, right? And so, you know, I definitely and I'm in your court for that. I think that's a really beautiful gift that you're giving people.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So yeah, you can see it. Like if people watching this and listening to us, you can see that there's so many pathways to figuring out how to step into self-love and self-care and what works for you. You have to follow that intuition. Which one are you drawn to? Where are you drawn? And come back and revisit, because who you're drawn to today is not who you're going to be drawn to further down on your journey. So just keep coming back. That's why I love this summit being evergreen. It's out there forever. You can just keep put it in your history tab, your bookmark tabs, and come back to it. So
Yeah, and so if you wanted to jump in to just ask live questions, it's next Wednesday, September 27th. It's from 9 to 12 p.m. Pacific time,
yeah.
and just even though you can't jump in for the whole thing, because I understand that not all of us could take that chunk of time out.
Mhm.
If you're able to, definitely you can ask live questions to all the experts on the spot, and so that's really beautiful because not all summits allow that. And if you can't, just understand that our talks, the freebies, prizes, and things like this, you'll receive during and after, even after the event ends, because it is evergreen to support you on this journey. So just be aware of that. We'll definitely put the links to register for this free summit. There's an option to upgrade to the VIP gifts because there is something for extra special that we have for people that are ready to invest in themselves. And we wanted to honor that by giving sort of something we would normally charge at a higher price tag that we wanted to gift to you guys. And so, um, yeah, just wanted to speak to that. And just because I spoke about it, and as Jennifer spoke about it, we'll also put the free gifts here if you were here and you felt drawn to watch us here, and that is available for you as well.
Right. Excellent. Um, Tammy, so we're actually going to wrap up here, I think, because it's good. It's been a great conversation. Before we wrap up, so I just happen to be the one that drew the straw that set this up on Restream, and so that it can go out on these platforms. And like I said before, Tammy, I'm not best with technology on this stuff. I'm always learning and doing this joint. And so I didn't even clue into the automation that goes across the bottom. So through this whole time, there's been my website across the bottom. So please, soulclarity.ca. You've seen that. But Tammy, please tell people how they can get in touch with you as well. So tell them your website, because I didn't know how to change that. That's why it's that way. So I want to make sure that you get shown.
Oh yeah, no, and that's okay. Well, I'll be putting my freebie in the comments. Um, but it is Path to the Heart, like exactly how it sounds.com. If you wanted to come check out my work on all these channels that we're broadcasting this through, feel free to direct message me on all those channels. I'm only a message away. No worries there. But yes, if you're wanting to step into understanding your own body communication and what it's, your own body's trying to say to you, definitely click on the link that I'll be putting below. We'll be putting below. And yeah, I'd love to hear from you. And maybe to wrap up here, Jennifer, is there any last words about self-love that you feel that is incomplete that you want to say as we wrap this up together?
Oh, I hadn't had a wrap up statement yet.
Yeah, and that's okay. Like it's sometimes I feel like during these talks, it's like I feel like I still need to say something, and so I think it's always a great question to check in. And if there isn't, that's totally okay. And
I'm
so
gonna leave this. I think my parting line will be actually it's a tagline that I have on my website and around my social media that goes with my name, Soul Clarity, and that is discover the magnificence of being human. So many people I talk to, especially because I am on that spiritual side. They're like, I don't ever want to come back. I don't want to be a human. Why did my soul decide to come here? It's so painful. It's so frustrating. It's so overwhelming and everything else. I'm here to tell you that when you get in touch with your heart and you connect your soul and your heart and your human experience, you will discover that it is an amazing place to be on planet Earth. It is an amazing experience to be a human. And there is a reason why you chose this time, because these, as much as there's chaos in the world and so many things that we could focus on, all of it is good, because where humanity is going is phenomenally positive and amazing. Like your soul chose to come here for a reason, and it is a magnificent time for you to be human. So
Yeah, beautiful. And I'll just leave by saying, just choose. It's in the now that we make choices to do something different, and whatever that looks like, set that intention for yourself. Make yourself important. Decide to choose you, and be selfish around it, because that is a portal to self love, as some of us might have heard before.
yes.
So thank you all, everyone, for tuning in. I appreciate your time, appreciate your energy. And yeah, definitely click below. And we look forward to connecting with you.
Excellent. All right. Love you all. Mwah. Thanks for joining us. Bye.